I'm Cynthia Izaguirre with your headlines from North Texas. 8 people will spend decades behind bars in connection to last summer's shooting that seriously wounded a police officer. It happened on the 4th of July outside the Prairie Land Detention Center in Alvarado. Richard Solomon explains the reason behind the lengthy sentences and how defendants are reacting.
So we now know how much time several people who are charged in that Prairie Land ICE detention center attack from last year will serve behind bars. And tonight we're hearing from attorneys and also family. One by one, the defendants learn their fate.
The government wants to take her entire life away.
And outside the courthouse, supporters and family of the 8 people charged in the Prairie Land ICE detention center attack say the outcome felt like another chapter in a case they say has been misunderstood from the beginning.
It hasn't been publicized by the administration. I think they made this out to be something that it wasn't.
Combined, the 8 defendants were sentenced to 450 years in federal prison for their roles in the July 2025 attack outside the detention center in Alvarado after a protest turned violent.
Hey, stop!
The group's leader, Benjamin Song, was sentenced to 100 years in prison. He was found guilty of attempted murder for shooting and injuring an officer. His mother shared these written words from him.
This is mass punishment. This is collective punishment. This is guilt by association. This is injustice.
Supporters say the group planned to shoot off fireworks and show support for detainees.
This was an egregious attack on federal and local law enforcement officers.
But prosecutors labeled the incident as domestic terrorism, alleging Antifa operatives planned and carried out the attack to target ICE agents.
It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers.
The sentences now close a chapter in a case that has drawn national attention for nearly a year. In Fort Worth, I'm Richard Solomon.
A frustrated rancher in Henderson County is warning others about a potential data center's impact before it's too late.
There's got to be some limits, and there's got to be some consideration for where they're putting in these data centers. I'd like for them to pick up the phone and give us a call and tell us what's going on.
Luke Clary spoke with her. The data center would be located right by Cedar Creek Lake near her decades-old cattle and wine ranch.
On a 70-acre ranch in Henderson County, the warning bell sounds close to home. Now Michelle Anderson raises Texas Longhorns at Triple N Ranch and says what may be built across the road could change life here.
It's going to affect their reproduction. It's going to affect, their water.
A Kansas company called Diode Ventures wants to build a data center on more than 700 acres. It didn't respond to our request for comment. The site just outside Anderson's front gate.
Since they're directly across the street, I'd like for them to pick up the phone and give us a call and tell us what's going on.
Opponents say the facility could need as much as 5 million gallons of water a day from nearby Cedar Creek Lake. Along the shoreline, you'll see lake houses and boat docks, but the people living here who oppose this proposed data center say the water isn't just for them. It's a reservoir owned by the Tarrant Regional Water District, the same system that helps supply Fort Worth. The debate has now reached the state capitol. Lawmakers in Austin are asking the same question. How much water should data centers get?
If you think about something as precious as water, we have to know what you're going to consume.
We agree this is a critical planning time.
Triple N Ranch also produces Texas wine. Water shapes more than the pasture here.
There's got to be some limits, and there's got to be some consideration for where they're putting in these data centers.
Anderson worries a project built to power the internet could put new pressure on a Texas way of life. In Henderson County, I'm Luke Clary.
New questions are surfacing about the Oak Cliff apartment explosion that killed 3 people. A victim's family filed a lawsuit against Atmos Energy. They claim the company incorrectly marked gas lines before a company started drilling nearby. Cole Sullivan shows us the judge's decision and a new response from Atmos.
Did we check this house for anybody yet?
The result is easy to see. A massive explosion and 5-alarm fire at an apartment building in Oak Cliff that killed 3 people.
Sylvia Collins was my friend and she burned alive, and it was completely preventable.
Attorney Chris Hamilton told us why.
This property had 6 reported leaks in the 2 months before.
6 calls for leaks at the same building that blew up last month. And before it did, he says drilling crews called 811 to get the gas lines marked. Only he says they were marked at the wrong place. Wrong by 15 feet or more.
There was no way that this driller could possibly know there was a pipeline here. He drilled exactly where he was supposed to.
Now he's suing Atmos Energy and says they were negligent. He just won a court victory to force them to tell him if they replace any pipes within 1,000 feet of this explosion, so he can see if they're orange, which he says means they're old.
What the orange indicates just at a glance is you're dealing with an early generation of pipe that is all associated with various design defects.
Atmos says in a statement, the safety of our communities and employees is our first priority. Our hearts go out to the people who were lost, their families, and everyone who has been impacted. The company says the driller, who was not working for Atmos, was the one that hit the pipe. Atmos says it was not the type of orange pipe Hamilton warns about, and that the company hired a third party to mark those gas lines. In Dallas, I'm Cole Sullivan.
What should Texas students learn about history, religion, and culture in the classroom? That question sparked hours of passionate debate at the state capitol as the State Board of Education considers major changes to classroom curriculum. Adriana de Alba has reaction from both sides.
A debate over Texas classrooms played out inside the state capitol Monday.
It is also an inherently divisive act.
The State Board of Education heard hours of testimony ahead of two major votes this week. One would rewrite social studies lessons. The other would approve a state reading list that includes Christian Bible stories for public school students. Supporters say the changes provide important historical context.
God will use it for good. Restoring this in public schools is key to understanding our history and government.
Opponents see it differently.
That's not education, that's indoctrination.
They argue the proposals place too much emphasis on a single religious viewpoint.
It's very clear that these lists are intended to push a politically and ideologically motivated narrow worldview on my children.
Education experts also raised concern.
This is introducing all sorts of problems and trouble into our public schools.
UT Austin education leadership and policy professor David DeMatthews questions how the material would be taught in the classroom.
Whose version of the Bible are you bringing in? What is the interpretation? Are teachers even prepared to teach this content?
The proposals come as Texas continues to shape what more than 5 million public school students learn.
These traditions are essential for understanding, upholding, and at times defending Western civilization.
The proposed reading list overwhelmingly represents a politically conservative worldview.
The State Board of Education is expected to take its final votes Friday. Decisions that could redefine how Texas students learn and understand history for years to come. In Tarrant County, I'm Adriana de Alba.
And those are your headlines from North Texas.